On the 9th of June 2014, Iraq's second city, Mosul, fell to the self-proclaimed Islamic State. Thousands fled.
غير مبرر بدهم يطلعوا من الموصل بأسرع دقائق مو أسرع وقت حتى يخلصوا من الشيء اللي راح يصير وإحنا ما نعرف شو هو يعني كيف أشبه لك إياها يوم ماكو تشبيه اللحظات اللي أنا عشتها ما تنوصف.
The city remains closed off to the outside world. But now, secretly filmed footage of life under ISIS domination has emerged. It shows that those who remain live in fear, persecuted, powerless. And it's a process ISIS are threatening to replicate across the Middle East. The ISIS assault on Mosul caught the Iraqi government completely off guard. Within hours, the Iraqi army had collapsed in the city, as Sunni militias and other armed groups took over the bases and equipment left behind by the deserting troops. Hundreds of thousands of civilians fled as Islamic State fighters poured into the city. Over the past year, communication with the outside world has become extremely difficult, but some residents have managed to secretly film life inside Mosul and slowly, painstakingly smuggle this footage out. At great personal risk, a group of activists known as the Mosuliyun, or citizens of Mosul, began documenting life as people fled the city. We can't reveal their identities because it would jeopardize their safety. Among the many people that left were Yasin and his family.
كنا في آخر فترة من حياتنا بالموصل بدينا نشعر أن الوضع الأمني يبدأ بالتدهور إلى أن اجى اليوم 9/6. صحينا أنه في حظر تجول للناس، في صوت قذائف وانفجارات. سمعنا أنه دخلوا مسلحين للمدينة. خرجنا من المدينة قبل ما يدخلوا المسلحين بغضون ساعات. شفنا أنه بعد خلص أنه الموصل انتهت، فخرجنا من الموصل بلحظات جنونية وما كنا نعرف وين راح يكون مصيرنا وهذا الطريق لوين ياخذنا.
As ISIS advanced, an estimated 150,000 people became refugees overnight as they abandoned their homes and fled the city. There are reports that police stations were set on fire and hundreds of prisoners set free.
شفت إنه الناس أصبحوا مغول، يعني إنه بالخروج ناس تسبق ناس تطلع على الرصيف، ناس تطلع على الطريق الترابي.
Man left Mosul shortly after the city fell. He's now a commander in the Nineveh Liberation Army, a group of local fighters based in nearby Kurdish-controlled northern Iraq. They hope one day to be able to help expel ISIS from Mosul. He says in the early days, many Sunni residents were glad to be rid of the unpopular Shia-dominated Iraqi army.
المراحل الأولى كان مقبول من قبل الناس لأن الناس عانت وكانت تعاني كثيراً من الضيقات اللي كان يأثر بها الجيش، لكن اللي حصل أنه داعش بدأت تضايق الأقليات. بعد ما خرجوا هؤلاء المكونات من شبكة داعش ومن تحت سيطرة داعش، بدأت المضايقات تتوجه نحو أبناء الشعب من أخواننا السنة.
The BBC has been able to contact some people who still live in Mosul through email and social media. Their accounts of daily life give a vivid picture of what they've been through. They're voiced by actors. This man went out to take photographs of the city following its takeover.
Traffic was flowing easily as the concrete blocks that had obstructed the roads were gone, and no one was there to order us about. I became curious as we drove past a so-called Islamic State outpost. I wanted to find out more about these people, so my friend and I went over to talk to a man with a long beard and wild hair. I said to him, "My Muslim brother, can I ask you a few honest questions, and you promise not to point your gun at me and arrest me?" He replied, "Feel free to do so, my fellow Muslim." I asked him, "Does this form of Islam please you? This Islam which forces Christians out and makes women slaves?" He told me, "Islam commands us to do so." We had a long conversation where he began to quote the Quran. Finally, I said goodbye and told him I was not convinced by his Islamic State. He replied, "You will be later, my fellow Muslim."
The reality of the limits imposed on day-to-day life soon became clear. ISIS fighters quickly made themselves a visible presence on the streets, intimidating the population to establish psychological control. This footage, filmed on a mobile phone, shows ISIS have their own branded vehicles. Here, militants are preaching their radical views to locals on the bus. We've blurred this man's face to protect him from reprisals. All this is happening in a city known in Iraq as the Pearl of the North. The ancient city of Mosul straddles the Tigris River at an important crossing point. 400 kilometers northwest of Baghdad, it is the country's second city and the gateway to Syria and Turkey. For millennia, it's been an important center of culture and commerce, a melting pot of diverse ethnic, sectarian and religious groups. Arabs, Turkmen, Kurds, Armenians and Assyrians, Sunni and Shia, Christians and Jews, all lived side by side. But 12 years of conflict since the 2003 US invasion has left Iraq a failed state, and its cities riven by sectarian hatred, corruption and abuse of power. I first came to Mosul 2 years ago. Even then, it was a very dangerous place to be.
We've just arrived at the Mosul checkpoint. This is the entrance into the city and we're in a queue of cars trying to get in. It's at this checkpoint that I feel most nervous because it's here where there are a lot of suicide attacks.
It was clear, even in 2013, that the security situation in the city was extremely volatile. The army and police were so weak, they melted away as soon as ISIS advanced. Victorious ISIS fighters flooded social media with propaganda. In the secretly filmed footage we've obtained from the Mosili activists, ISIS propaganda videos are being shown in the city's marketplace. As soon as they arrived, ISIS began controlling communication with the outside world and establishing sophisticated public information points like this one to get their message out. Faras, not his real name, is a communication engineer who saw how they operated. He escaped the city several months ago, but we've concealed his identity to protect his family who are still there.
بس من دخلوا يعني تغير كل الأمور، يعني أبسط شيء الاتصالات والنيتورك صار في انقطاع، صار فد شيء ممنوع على الناس، يعني الاتصالات مباشرة قطعوها، فرضوا أتاوات مثل ما يسميها احنا وضريبة على شركات الاتصالات الموجودة بالموصل. حرقوا الأبراج مال الاتصالات، خربوا الأجهزة، اللي سرقوا الأجهزة. يعني اكو شخص يحكوا لي عنه انه عنده صالة انترنت والناس تجي تتصل بأقاربها اللي هاي خارج الموصل، سووا يعني تعدوا عليه، يعني اخذوه جلدوه بقعدهم اكثر من مرة، اعتدوا عليه لحد ما سد الصالة ماله ويعني عزلها وانقطع رزقه من هالسبب.
The deprivations imposed on the local population soon extended to all basic services. People in Mosul are often without fresh water or mains electricity, and fuel is in short supply. Some have resorted to cutting down trees despite an ISIS ban. This mobile phone footage shows others buying gas on the black market. Refusing to abide by their new ruler's fundamentalist Islamic codes of conduct means running the risk of severe punishment. In the months since the takeover, it's become impossible for people to live outside ISIS control. Reports from people who have escaped the city say stonings and lashings have become commonplace. The restrictions on women are particularly severe. There are checkpoints on the streets and surprise raids on restaurants to ensure their dress complies with IS laws.
ما بينه شيء يعني ستر للمرأة وشيء حلو ومرتب بس الأسلوب اللي جانا بينه أسلوب جاف وكذلك يعني إضافة إلى الغلاء اللي صار بالخمارات يعني كان الخمار ب 4000 دينار ما حد يشتريه يصير 15 و 25.
This woman is being rebuked by an IS militant for not wearing gloves. Romantic relationships outside marriage are punishable by death. Many families fear that their daughters will be forcibly married to ISIS fighters. Yasmin, not her real name, managed to escape Mosul 4 months ago. We're concealing her identity for her own safety.
خرجنا من الموصل لأن صار تضييق كثير علينا خصوصاً إحنا البنات. فرضوا كثير أشياء منها إنه أساساً إحنا بمجتمعنا محافظين. فرضوا النقاب واللبس الطويل جداً ولازم يكون أسود. إحنا خصوصاً الشباب والبنات خرجنا لأنه البنات كثير شغلات سمعنا إنه خطف ويعني شغلات اغتصاب وهاي الشغلات. أما الشباب قالوا إنه تجنيد إلزامي لصفوف داعش.
Many of Mosul's neighbourhoods are deserted. Once home to the city's religious minorities, they now lie abandoned, their former residents victims of a systematic campaign of ethnic cleansing. 60,000 Christians once lived in this city. Now they're all gone. Abu Nur fled several months ago after his family was targeted, leaving everything behind.
احنا بعد ما خرجنا حقيقة بعد ما خرجنا طبعا تجينا مكالمات هاتفية من داخل مدينة الموصل، كانوا يتصلون بنا يقولون انه بيوتكم قفلوا بيوتكم وكتبوا عليها دولة العراق الإسلامية وكتبوا عليها حرف النون. حرف النون معناته نصراني، واحنا كمسيحيين احنا مو نصارى، احنا مسيحيين. يعني أنا خلقت مسيحي، أنا ولدت مسيحي وأعيش مسيحي وأموت مسيحي. مثلا الأخوة الشيعة اللي موجودين كتبوا حرف الراء معناتها رافضة.
The fabric of everyday life has been torn apart in Mosul. When ISIS took over, schools were shut down. Most have now reopened, but the old curriculum has been abolished. Drawing, music, even crayons and coloured pens are banned. Shops like these used to be full of school children. The only subject being taught now is ISIS ideology. This is the testimony of a young man whose 12-year-old brother's school was taken over by ISIS. His words are spoken by an actor.
I came home one day and saw him drawing the Islamic State's flag and humming one of their most famous chants. I went crazy, and I began shouting and yelling at him. I took the drawing and tore it to pieces. I warned him that should he ever draw this flag again, or recite one of those people's chants, I would ground him, ban him from seeing his friends, and stop talking to him altogether. We immediately removed him from school. We prefer he has no education at all than the indoctrination ISIS is trying to spread. I've come to the conclusion their goal is to plant the seeds of violence, hate, and sectarianism in children's minds.
Today, there is little left of the old Mosul. IS disapproves of religious shrines of any sort, and many holy sites across the city, Sunni, Shia, Christian, and Yazidi, have been destroyed. Here, children run out of a shrine just before it was blown up by ISIS. For many residents, this destruction of Iraq's cultural heritage has been one of the most profoundly distressing aspects of ISIS occupation. In some cases, 3,000-year-old statues have been reduced to rubble, targeted as false idols.
الآثار الموجودة بالموصل هي حضارتنا احنا العراقيين. هي يعني لما شفناها تدمرت يعني أصابنا هول، حزنا كثير على التدمير اللي صار لها. صار لها آلاف السنين هاي الحضارات، راحت بلحظة تدمرت كلها. ألغوا كلية الفنون، كلية القانون، علوم سياسية، فنون تحديداً لأنه هي من وجهة نظرهم أنه هذا الشيء حرام.
Iraqi government officials have warned ISIS is selling looted artifacts on the black market. Ancient relics similar to these in order to finance its military operations. US airstrikes are attempting to cut supply lines from ISIS strongholds in Syria to Mosul. In the city, IS are extorting substantial amounts of money from people trapped there.
People don't believe their money is safe anywhere, as this footage shows. These men, with hidden their voices and identity to protect their safety, are asking the cameraman what is happening. He tells them there is a run on the bank across the street. Everyone is trying to withdraw their money. This man had first-hand experience of ISIS extortion. His words are spoken by an actor.
I'm a shop owner in Mosul where ISIS has forced us to pay zakah or almsgiving into their own coffers. However, they are forcing us to pay a form of zakah which doesn't exist in the Quran. One day I saw a well-known Islamic preacher from Mosul who had become a judge in ISIS. I asked him about the new form of zakah and he assured me that such a thing would contradict Sharia law. The next day I saw him again and he told me that the new law was decreed by the Caliph Baghdadi himself and that we had to obey it. We argued, but he became angry and told me that had I not been his friend and neighbor, he would have arrested me and sentenced me to 50 lashes. At that point I apologized and left, afraid for my family, because I know how cruel they are with those who argue with them over their laws.
Wresting Mosul back is a key priority for the Iraqi government. But the timescale for any operation keeps being delayed. Over the last 12 months, IS fighters have consolidated their position. They've taken control of former army bases and, to avoid detection by the Iraqi army, hide heavy weapons and armoured vehicles under bridges in civilian areas. Drone strikes targeting ISIS have destroyed parts of the city, including here, Al Farouk, a residential area. But a grassroots movement to drive ISIS out is gaining momentum within Mosul. And outside the city, these fighters have established what they call a people's army. It's composed of men who fled Mosul for the nearby Kurdish-controlled region.
أهل الموصل يرفضون أن يأتي غريب ليحرر الموصل، لهذا أصروا أن يعملون هذا الحشد الوطني، وفعلا الناس بدأت تأتي تباعا. والشيء الرائع أنه هذا الحشد الوطني فيه كثير من المسيحيين المسلمين اليزيدية، الأخوان الأكراد كمية كبيرة جدا. والشيء الرائع أيضا أنه القبائل العربية والعشائر العربية توحدت في الموصل، توحدت بهذا الحشد الوطني. الكثيرين محتاجين هاي القوة اللي تأمننا من الحماية، تأمننا من المقدرة. وأنا متأكد دخول الحشد الوطني إلى الموصل مع قوات بيشمركة، مع قوات الجيش العراقي البطل، أكيد راح تعمل على إضعاف داعش وإخراجه من المدينة.
For the people inside Mosul, trying to hold on to some semblance of normality in their lives is crucial. The people who shot this footage and provided it to the BBC are trying to bring the attention of the world to the plight of Mosul. They've set up a Facebook page to maintain contact with the outside world. For those now refugees, the hope is ISIS will be driven out of Mosul and they can one day return.
يريدون يعملون خلافة، بس الخلافة حقيقة الخلافة داخل العراق ما تنجح. ليش؟ العراق بينه طوائف وألوان وأشكال، ما ممكن أن تنجح هاي الخلافة، ما ممكن أن تنجح، مستحيل.
With IS's powerful stranglehold on Mosul, the fear for many is that when the moment comes to take back the city, it will mean a bloody battle fought street by street, house by house.